So today we're going to lay out our feed scoop. All you're going to need is a Sharpie, a ruler, and a speed square. You will do this on Monday. This video is just a good tutorial quick for you. So first thing I'm going to do is verify that I have a 12-inch sheet by somewhere around 15. It can be a little bigger, a little smaller. We need about 15 for what we need to do. So once we know we have a 12-inch wide sheet, we can mark off our sides and our ends. So our sides are 3.5-inch sides. Our middle should then be 5 inches. So you have your 3.5-inch sides, 5-inch middle. You're going to want to do the same thing over here to keep yourself squared up. Measure that 3.5-inch in. So that way whenever you connect lines, you know they are square. First thing we need to do is measure 3.5 inches up from this end to make our back piece of our feed scoop. It is going to be the same height as our sides, so you want to measure the exact same distance. So there's our 3.5-inch spot, and we can connect those. We can actually measure 3.5 inches up each side and connect the whole thing as well. This is going to be the back or the base of our feed scoop. This will be the back section. We'll make our sides up this way. So now that we have that drawn out, we can draw in these walls. Anything that's a solid wall, I'm drawing with a solid line. Anything that's going to be hemmed, I'm going to draw with a dotted line. So these are solid lines. That's a solid piece. We're going to hem our top edge of each side at 1/2 inch. So I'm going to make a mark at 1/2 inch. And draw a dotted line between those two, because that's going to be our hem line, where you will fold it over itself to make a nice smooth edge. So dotted lines for hemming, solid lines for our piece. From this baseline, we need to get 9.5 inches is going to be the end of our feed scoop. So I'll start here, make sure I'm straight with my other mark, and make a mark at 9.5. This is going to be the very end of your feed scoop. And you're going to have a couple inches left over. That will be for forming your handle. So don't get rid of those right away. So there's 9.5, 9.5. We could connect those like so. And we can actually draw our line straight up the side here, because we know this is 3.5 inches in. So there we go. That is our bottom of our feed scoop. Now, like we said, we want anything that's sticking out to be hemmed, so we're going to hem this 1/2 inch. And then draw a dotted line for a hem. Another thing we could do is lay out our side pieces here. We don't want them to be just solid rectangles. We kind of want a curve here. So you'll have to get out a speed square, and you will line this speed square up with your bottom of your sheet. Get it to 45. We'll make a 45-degree angle, and we will draw our line. Same thing with this side. It might be easier if you flip your sheet over. Get ourselves a 45. And there you go. You are set for your side piece, middle, back. Last thing we need to do is add in our hems on our side pieces. So, again, 1/2 inch hem. And then you connect those with a dotted line. Again, you'll be looking at a set of blueprints while you do this, but I would be taking down some notes so you know what you're doing. So you know this will be hemmed, that'll be hemmed, front edge is hemmed, back top is hemmed. Everything looks good as far as the actual feed scoop piece. You'll fold this one up, that one up, this one up, and have a feed scoop after you spot weld. When you go to fold this up, you have to remember you need a place to spot weld on. If you did a sheet metal toolbox, this might be familiar to you, but you will want to leave a tab, something like this. And these don't have to be perfect. These are just for your spot welds. They don't have to be a specific size. You could have an angle here. You could do however you want. So you will fold these straight up with this piece. So that way when you fold it in, it's on the inside of your sides and you can spot weld in your corners there. Hopefully that all makes sense looking at it here. And I will actually cut this out and make an example for you. So you'll take a pair of tin snips, aviator snips, whatever you want to call them, and then you will cut out, obviously, all of this. We don't need. This can get cut out. Same thing over here. Gets cut out. And then you'll want to make this straight cut here with a shear to ensure that you get a straight cut. You'll do that one with a shear. And then you want to save this piece, because with this leftover 2 inches, you will make your handle. Your handle is going to be 2 inches wide, 6 inches long. That's why we have 12-inch piece. You'll be able to get both handle pieces out of this to make for your feed scoop handle. probably going to be easiest just to cut this at an angle, because you're not going to be able to get your snips in there very well. We'll take that piece out at an angle. Now that I have my corners cut out on each side, I'm going to take it to the shear and just make a straight cut across here. Hopefully you've all seen the shear used and know how all that goes, so I'll get that done quick and bring it back over. So I went and cut it off here with the shear. I made sure to keep this piece to put the handles on. And if your piece works out correctly, this one is about 1/4 inch too big. Yeah, so I would take it to the shear, cut off about 1/4 inch, or you can just kind of lay it out and then go cut it. But you want your handles to be 2 inches wide. So there's 2 inches. I'll mark the 2 inches over here. So there's 2 and 2. I can line them up. This is where I'm going to cut the piece off with the shear. Same thing goes for this. We want our handle to be smooth. So we're going to draw out hem lines at 1/2 inch. And that's from each side. So our handle really works out to be about 1 inch wide after we do our 1/2 inch hems. If your piece ends up not being quite big enough, you can also use, there's a bunch of scrap strips in the shop, or if you can only get one out of each one, there's a whole bunch of scraps we can use to get that done. So that's where I would draw my hem lines. Again, dotted line for hemming. And that's our basic handle layout. I would go fold all of this, measure my feed scoop, make sure that this is going to fit it, cut it where it needs to be, and then we spot weld it on. As we get back to this, I'm going to cut off these corners. You could set this in the shear and at an angle and line both sides up and cut it straight, but there's probably going to be a lot of people there, so you might just want to go grab a pair of snips and cut it yourself. Same thing on this side. I'm just going to cut this out. It's starting to take shape. Next thing you're going to do is head to the brake. And my advice would be to do all of your hems first. So you hem, 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 hem. Do your 4 hems, get everything folded flat, and then I would fold on my side lines here. Fold your tabs and your sides all up together at once. That way your tabs are up, and when you put this piece in the brake, you'll be able to fold this up. Your tabs should slide right inside your sides, spot weld the whole thing together. So we're going to do all of our hemming first. We want to make sure that your brake is set up correctly, proper teeth in. For all of your hems, you should be able to have it set up with at least 2 big ones in. The 2 big teeth in, we'll go ahead and just do all of our hems. Ready to line up right on your dotted lines. Put it back in once it's folded. Basically smush it down. So you have a fold like so. You'll do that for all of them. Now we have everything hemmed, we can fold up our sides. Again, fold your tabs right up with your sides. It's starting to take shape. Our sides folded up. We'll have to readjust the brake so this will fold up. Before you do that, you might want to take a hand brake and kind of fold these in, or you could do it with this as well. that side's still a little bit too big. What I'm going to do is just put the tab in this brake and fold it up a little more. Now the tab is kind of leaning inside this side. I'll do the same thing for the other tab. If I had a handbrake close by, I would do that, but again, I only have one, so that might be busy. So those should be leaning in just enough to slide right between our sides, and we'll be able to spot weld it. So I'll have to adjust the brake again and put on a tooth small enough to fold that up. I'm going to go with this one. Looks like it should work. There's all kinds of teeth back here. This is just the brake width. Might actually add the smaller one on with it just to make sure we get a nice bend. So that bent up pretty nice. Now that we have all of our sides bent, all we need to do is go over to the spot welder, use our tabs on the inside, spot weld, and that should snug it right up, keep everything close, and you will have this main part of your feed scoop done, and you'll just have to get your handle on. So now we're going to go to the spot welder. There's one here, the other one over there you guys have used. This way hopefully it speeds us up a little bit. Both the same concept. I have my tab in the middle there. I'm going to wear some gloves, safety glasses obviously. This one's kind of nice because you can pinch this in here. And there's actually a trigger, so it won't start welding until you pull the trigger. So now that it's in there, I give it a little tap, then it does its weld. You're going to want to do that a few times. This one actually almost burnt through a little bit, so I'm going to have to go a little bit less on the weld. The other thing you could do is rivet this. You want to grab the pop rivets and put some holes in it and rivet this instead of weld. That would also work. So that's all you have to do for the spot welder. So you're working with your handle now, because we have our feed scoop body all formed, welded up. Again, we have that leftover piece that was 12 inches. We want to make two sections out of this handle, one that's 7 inches and the other one is the remaining 5. So this is the short section, this is the wide section. You'll go to the shear and just cut this off at 7 inches. Cut it right there with the shear. You'll have this side and this side to work with, and you're going to do the same thing. You hem everything first, and then we will put a bend in it at a 1/2 inch on each side, and that is for you to weld on to your feed scoop. I'll do that once we get everything cut, because we're going to cut this off, as I said before, and then I'll cut it right there. So I'll go to the shear and do that quick. Now that I cut my handle, I'm actually going to bring my feed scoop right over and decide where I want to mark to cut this, or to bend it. So this is going to be the handle that you kind of grab onto, and we want that to be hanging over at least 1/2 inch, I would think, so you can fold it, again weld it on there. So I'm going to make a mark at 1/2 inch on this piece. So that's where I'm going to bend it. And that's where you'll spot weld, is on this 1/2 inch tab. So that's going to be a 90-degree bend. That's a solid line. Those are hems. It's probably easier to do the hems first, bend this up. I'll go to the brake and do that. The other thing, if we know this is going to be right here, we want to spot weld these two together. Then we know our other piece of our handle should be right there. And again, it looks like we have plenty of room to do like a 1/2 inch on each side for our spot weld. Could just mark it just like this. Line it right up with your edge so you know exactly where you need to bend it. Because your feed scoop might be braced out a little, we're using some thinner metal, might pop and bend a little. So now it's all kind of lined up. All you have to do is know where to bend. So I'll make a solid line here. That's a 90-degree. That's a 90-degree. This one only has one. The other end will get spot welded onto this. I'll go to the brake and fold that all up. So I took all of this to the brake, got the handle folded up. You'll put your side piece on, put this piece on top, and this will end up being your handle. You'll take this to the spot welder, weld right there and on the sides. So after we spot welded the handle on, obviously it's warm, but your hand should fit right in there. Hold on to it. You could use it as a T-grip. This is what you want your final product to look like. Have a T-shaped handle, everything's made out of metal, spot welded, didn't have to use any fasteners. All the edges are hemmed, nothing sharp on it. That's a finished project.